I bet you didn't know that Thomas More's book, Utopia, was one of the earliest works to explore economic ideas in a fictional society. Hey everyone, and welcome to our very own time machine, where we're about to take a wild ride through the world of economics. Buckle up as we explore the groundbreaking ideas of some seriously brilliant minds who have shaped the way we understand the economy, like from the year 1450 all the way to today. Now you might be thinking, economics? Isn't that all about boring graphs and confusing numbers? Well, I'm here to tell you that economics is so much more than that. It's about people, choices, and the systems we create to navigate the often treacherous waters of scarcity and abundance. The ideas we'll be unpacking have profoundly impacted everything from how we trade goods to understanding wealth, poverty, and everything in between. We will meet some fascinating characters and grapple with some huge questions. But first, subscribe and click the bell for all notifications. Our journey begins in 18th century Scotland with Adam Smith, the OG of modern economics. His book, The Wealth of Nations, is like the economic equivalent of Shakespeare's Hamlet. Smith argued that a nation's true wealth lay in the productivity of its people. His famous metaphor of the invisible hand showed how self-interest could benefit society. Smith was a huge proponent of free markets, arguing that government intervention should be minimal. He believed competition and profit pursuit would regulate prices and encourage innovation. Smith emphasized the division of labor, increasing efficiency through specialized tasks. Specialization and trade boost productivity and economic growth. Smith's ideas revolutionized work and laid the groundwork for mass production. Let's talk about Karl Marx, the granddaddy of communist theory and capitalism's most famous critic. While Adam Smith saw capitalism as progress, Marx viewed it as inherently flawed, destined to crumble. Born in Germany in 1818, Marx witnessed the squalor of the working class, the widening gap between rich and poor, and the dehumanizing nature of factory work. In Das Kapital, Marx critiqued capitalism in detail. He argued that capitalism was based on the exploitation of labor. Capitalists extracted surplus value from workers, leading to inevitable revolution. Workers would rise up to overthrow the capitalist system. Marx envisioned a communist utopia where the alienation and exploitation inherent in capitalism would be replaced by a system based on the principle of from each according to his ability, to each according to his need. In this idealized society, everyone would contribute to the common good based on their capabilities, and everyone's needs would be met. Now, it's important to note that Marx's ideas have been interpreted and implemented in a variety of ways, some more successful than others. While his theories inspired numerous revolutions and social movements, leading to significant changes in labor laws and social welfare programs, the classless utopia he envisioned has proven elusive. Despite the shortcomings of some of its real-world applications, Marx's critique of capitalism remains incredibly influential. His ideas continue to shape debates about inequality, labor rights, and the role of government in the economy. So, even if you don't agree with everything Marx had to say, understanding his perspective is crucial for anyone who wants to engage in meaningful conversations about the future of capitalism and the search for a more just and equitable society. The year is 1929, the Roaring Twenties are over, and the world is plunged into the Great Depression. It's a time of economic turmoil, with unemployment skyrocketing. Enter John Maynard Keynes, a British economist who revolutionized our understanding of the economy. Keynes challenged the classical economic wisdom that economies were self-correcting. He argued that the government needed to step in and manage the economy during crises. His ideas, known as Keynesian economics, formed the basis for many policies during the Great Depression. Keynes laid out his revolutionary ideas in his 1936 magnum opus, The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money. It's a dense read, but it's full of key Keynesian concepts like aggregate demand and the multiplier effect. One key takeaway is that the economy isn't always operating at full capacity. During a recession, there's a lot of unused potential unemployed workers, idle factories. Keynes argued that the government could use fiscal and monetary policy to boost demand. Keynesian economics dominated post-World War II, leading to unprecedented growth. But in the 1970s, stagflation challenged Keynesian economics, paving the way for new schools of thought. Milton Friedman, a giant of economic thought, had a very different perspective from Keynes. Friedman was a staunch advocate for free markets and limited government intervention. He believed the market was the most efficient way to allocate resources and promote growth. Friedman argued that government intervention often led to unintended consequences. His work influenced policymakers like Reagan and Thatcher, who reduced government's role in the economy. Friedman is best known for his work on monetarism, emphasizing the role of money supply in macroeconomic stability. He argued that controlling the money supply was crucial for controlling inflation. He was a leading figure in the Chicago School of Economics, known for their free market views. Friedman's book, Capitalism and Freedom, lays out his vision for a society based on individual liberty. Friedman's legacy is complex and often debated. Now let's talk about Friedrich Hayek, an Austrian-British economist and philosopher who shared Milton Friedman's deep skepticism of government intervention in the economy. Hayek is best known for his work on the role of information in the market and his warnings about the dangers of central planning. Hayek argued that central planners, no matter how well-intentioned, could never possess enough information to effectively manage a complex economy. He believed that the market, through the decentralized actions of millions of individuals, was much better at processing information and allocating resources efficiently. Hayek's most famous work, The Road to Serfdom, published in 1944, became a seminal text for the burgeoning libertarian movement. In it, Hayek argued that even seemingly well-intentioned government interventions in the economy could lead to a gradual erosion of individual liberty and ultimately to totalitarianism. Hayek's work was particularly relevant in the aftermath of World War II, a time when many countries were experimenting with socialist policies and central planning. His warnings about the dangers of government overreach resonated with those who feared the expansion of state power. One of Hayek's most important contributions was understanding the role of information in the market. In his 1945 article, Hayek argued that economic coordination faces dispersed and changing information. Knowledge about the economy is widely scattered throughout society. The market, through the price system, acts as a giant information processor. Prices convey vital information about the scarcity of goods and services. Hayek's work on information and the price system was groundbreaking. Joseph Schumpeter might not be as famous as Adam Smith, but his ideas are just as impactful. Born in Austria in 1883, Schumpeter was a lawyer, politician, and economist. He was fascinated by capitalism's dynamism and constant innovation. His most famous idea, creative destruction. New innovations disrupt markets, making old products obsolete. Schumpeter argued this process is essential for long-term economic growth. Schumpeter's Capitalism, Socialism, and Democracy, published in 1942, explores these ideas in depth. He argues that capitalism, while dynamic, is inherently unstable. Creative destruction leads to growth but also disruptions. Schumpeter predicted capitalism would be replaced by socialism through gradual evolution. He saw socialism's benefits and pitfalls, fearing it could stifle innovation. Finding a balance between capitalism's dynamism and socialism's stability is key. Let's be honest, economics can sometimes feel like a dry and dusty subject, but every now and then we stumble upon an idea so elegant it cuts through the complexity. David Ricardo's theory of comparative advantage is one of those ideas. Born in England in 1772, Ricardo made a fortune on the London Stock Exchange, but he wanted to understand how economies worked, and his theory changed international trade forever. In a nutshell, it means that even if one country is more efficient at producing everything, it still makes sense for them to trade. Ricardo's theory of comparative advantage from his 1817 book revolutionized international trade. Trade isn't a zero-sum game, it can be mutually beneficial. Countries specialize in what they're good at and trade for the rest. And yes, it works in the real world. Ricardo's theory is the bedrock of modern trade theory. It's why Japan exports cars, Brazil exports coffee. So, next time you enjoy global products, thank David Ricardo. For decades, economists have used GDP growth and per capita income to measure progress. But do these metrics tell the whole story? True development is about more than just money. Amartya Sen has been asking this for decades. Born in India in 1933, Sen witnessed poverty and famine firsthand. Sen focuses on the human impact of economic policies. He argues true development expands people's choices and freedoms. Sen's landmark book, Development as Freedom, published in 1999, lays out his vision for a more humane and just world. In it, he argues that freedom is both the means and the end of development. Freedom, in Sen's view, is not just about having the right to vote or speak freely, though those are certainly important. It's also about having the ability to access education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. It's about having the power to shape your own destiny. Sen's work has had a real-world impact, influencing the United Nations Human Development Index, which measures a country's development based on factors like life expectancy, education, and income. He's also been a vocal advocate for policies that promote social justice and reduce inequality. Amartya Sen's work reminds us that economics is not just about numbers and graphs, it's about people. It's about creating a world where everyone has the opportunity to reach their full potential, regardless of their background or circumstances. And that's a goal worth striving for, don't you think? So you want to understand economics. You want to grapple with concepts like supply and demand, delve into the complexities of macroeconomics, maybe even whisper the words Keynesian economics in a crowded room. Chances are, you're going to pick up a textbook. And for millions of students across generations, that textbook has been Economics and Introductory Analysis by Paul Samuelson. Published in 1948, Samuelson's textbook wasn't just a dry recitation of economic theories, it was a revolution. He took complex ideas, the kind that make your eyes glaze over, and made them accessible, engaging, almost, dare I say, fun. Before Samuelson, economics textbooks were often dense, jargon-filled tomes, more suited for seasoned academics than curious students. But Samuelson, with his clear prose and knack for explanation, brought economics to the masses. He made it a subject you could learn, understand, and even, dare I say, enjoy. It's no exaggeration to say that Samuelson's textbook shaped the way generations of economists, and even just regular people trying to understand the world around them, think about economics. He laid the foundation, brick by intellectual brick, for a more economically literate world. But Samuelson wasn't just about simplifying existing ideas. He was a groundbreaking economist in his own right. His work spanned a vast array of economic fields, from international trade to public finance, from macroeconomics to mathematical economics. He was a pioneer in applying mathematical modeling to economic analysis, bringing a new level of rigor and sophistication to the field. Remember those equations that sometimes pop up in economics? Yeah, Samuelson probably had a hand in developing some of them, and while he was a brilliant theorist, Samuelson never lost sight of the real-world impact of economics. He was a passionate advocate for using economic principles to solve social problems, from poverty and inequality to environmental degradation. So next time you crack open an economics textbook, or even just find yourself pondering the complexities of the global economy, take a moment to remember Paul Samuelson, the man who brought economics into the classroom and into our lives. For decades, when it comes to shared resources, things like forests, fisheries, or grazing lands, individuals acting in their own self-interest will inevitably deplete them. It was a bleak outlook, this tragedy of the commons, suggesting that the only way to manage these resources was through privatization or government control. Enter Elinor Ostrom, an economist who dared to challenge this deeply ingrained assumption. Ostrom, you see, was interested in real-world solutions, not just elegant theories, so she did something radical. She actually went out and studied how communities around the world were managing their shared resources. And guess what? She found that people weren't doomed to destroy their own environment after all. Ostrom documented countless examples of communities successfully governing their shared resources for generations, often without relying on external authorities. These weren't utopian societies. They faced real challenges, but through cooperation, communication, and locally crafted rules, they found ways to avoid the tragedy of the commons. Ostrom's work was a breath of fresh air, a testament to human ingenuity and the power of collective action. Ostrom's research wasn't just about debunking a popular theory, it was about understanding what actually worked. She identified key principles that underpin successful commons governance, things like clearly defined boundaries, monitoring systems, graduated sanctions for rule breakers, and, perhaps most importantly, mechanisms for conflict resolution. Her work demonstrated that successful resource management wasn't about finding a one-size-fits-all solution. It was about understanding the specific context, the social norms, the ecological dynamics, and crucially, the needs and perspectives of the people who actually rely on those resources. Ostrom's legacy is one of empowerment. She showed that solutions to complex environmental and social problems don't always have to come from top-down government policies or market-based mechanisms. Sometimes the best answers come from the communities themselves, from the people who know their local environments and challenges best. So, the next time you hear someone lament the inevitable tragedy of the commons, remember Eleanor Ostrom and the countless communities around the world who are proving that a more sustainable and equitable future is within our grasp. From the birth of capitalism to the challenges of globalization, from the depths of economic depression to the promise of sustainable development, we've journeyed through centuries of economic thought, encountering some of the most brilliant minds that have shaped our understanding of the world. But our exploration doesn't end here. The field of economics is constantly evolving, grappling with new challenges and seeking answers to age-old questions. There are countless other brilliant minds, past and present, whose ideas continue to shape our world. Thanks for joining us on this historical journey. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more insightful content.